love Israel? Israel number one. No politics here. Why you no love Israel? Oh, you hate it? I'm Israel high. 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 You have forgotten to say I'm Israel high? Do you love Israel? You must love Hamas. You are Hamas. I'm Israel high. 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 Oh, Israel not number one for you. Oh, anti-Semitism. Israel, small nation. Israel, tiny nation surrounded by scary Muslims. Ah, you are anti-Semitism. You are Hamas. You are Hamas. No politics here. Say Israel number one. Tweet Israel number one. No politics here. 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 Say you condemn Hamas. Say I'm Israel high. Say you condemn October 7th. You are Hamas. No politics here. 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 What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, afternoon, pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hassan Piker, and this is HasanAbi broadcast coming to you live from sunny California, Los Angeles. Folks, we're live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and MBs are having a fantastic one because today's a beautiful day. Today's a wonderful day. Today is a Tuesday. It's Newsday Tuesday, folks. We're alive, and I hope everyone's having a fantastic one. Yes, it is January 13th, 2026. And this year has started. This year has started officially. January is not even halfway in, and yet we have had a tremendous amount of cruelty that we've seen both all around the world and also in the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Adams is dead, okay? I'll just get it out of the way. Scott Adams died, okay? The father of Dilbert, he's gone. Gone but not forgotten, a GOAT, a legendary American hero, okay? Pack watch, smoke watch, R.I.P. Bozo. I don't even care, to be honest. It's just one way or another. It is what it is. What was I going to say? This is part of the broadcast where I tell you about my personal news about what's going on in the world of HasanAbi Piker in between the time period where I press the stop streaming button and press the stop streaming button. So help me God, that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, that's precisely what I'm going to do. Ended the broadcast last night. What did I do? Tried to read a little bit, but didn't really have any ambition. Ended up watching a little bit of Jujutsu Kaisen, and that's pretty much it. And yeah, that's it. I went to bed early. Woke up super early, worked out, talked to the South China Morning Post about my trip to China. Did some interviews, did some, $20,000 media hits as always. And that's it. That's what's happening. That's what's popping. That's all I got. Nothing else. Did this really happen? Everyone keeps posting these green screen fucking. Did this really happen? Let's see.
Here we are. And if you look, come to think of it, well, I got to look at this myself. Wow. What a view.
Wow. What a view.
Yeah, that really happened. That happened for real. For reals. Chinese Hassan Piker, lemon bald, is getting the HasanAbi treatment. Bro is thriving. Oh, this is my Chinese counterpart. Fuck this asshole. Shut the fuck up. We're coming for you, fucker. Get the heck out of our country. Yeah. A critical support to Lemon Bald, my Chinese counterpart. Buddha Wang is my hero. Yeah, mine too. Don't worry. Brother, dude, I've been going live at 11 a.m. Pacific time every single day, 7 days a week since 2020. Okay? Every single day. And now there are motherfuckers being like, why are you going live when Asmonbald is going live? Yeah, brother, you should ask him that question. Okay? This is the same time frame where I've been going live every single day, 7 days a week for the past 6 years. You understand? What the hell are you talking about? The most consistent streamer of all time. Anyway, where was I? There's not really much personal news-wise to talk about, honestly, because, you know, I have been tweeting up a storm as of late. I've been on Twitter quite a bit, and it's probably not good for my mental health, but I think woke is back, so we just got to keep fucking fighting and keep pushing. And that's basically it, you know? What is happening? Someone comes in and says something about Asmongold. I respond briefly, and instantly there's like a bunch of his fans in here being like, can you stop talking about him, please? Calm down, guys, okay? I know. It's going to be okay. The world is burning, but it's also turning. Okay? It's going to keep turning. They have you both up, tracking everyone. Hi, nice hat. Hate to be that guy, but in the span of a few days, not only is Zioron made good on his executive order giving Tish license to cordon off blocks around settler recruitment events, he's come out and denounced the protesters who stayed in the kettle in an orderly fashion because they're publicly supporting Palestinian resistance. I don't regret voting for him, obviously, but how are we supposed to feel about this shit right now? Zioron. Zioron Musadani. Zioron Musadani and AOCIA. Oh man. We gotta keep pushing. We gotta keep pushing, baby. I don't know what to tell you. They were saying we support Hamas Shatter. What'd you expect he was gonna say? Yeah, no, that's fucking cope. Is actually bullshit. Like he knows better. Come on, dude. Get out of here. Like what did I say from the start? Do not concede on your enemy's cynical framing. The much larger, much more consequential takeaway from that fucking story was supposed to be the settler fairs that they're conducting in a goddamn synagogue once again. And yet the entire media was moved into the direction of, oh my God, I can't believe the protesters that are protesting against settler fairs that are taking place in a synagogue are actually the bad ones in the story because they said we support Hamas here. I can't believe that they're supporting the Palestinian resistance. How dare they say that? That's unacceptable. Okay, on the other side, the people who were counter-protesting against the protesters were literally fucking counter-protesting about with Kahanis sloganeering, with Kahanis flags. That's a literal fucking terrorist organization. That's a terrorist organization that's considered a terrorist organization in the state of Israel. Like, that's how big of a fucking terrorist organization that is. So if you're going to fucking complain about people, people supporting designated enemies of America or like, terrorist states in general, focus your attention on Focus the limited amount of attention that we have in this media cycle on things that actually are productive, things that actually matter, okay? Just being like, oh my God, I can't believe they said they love Hamas or whatever is just fucking stupid. Of course, he's not going to come out and say he's, pro-Hamas or anything like that. Don't be stupid either, all right? He's an American politician in New York City. That's not going to happen at all. I think it's just it's a misstep in the way that he managed or communicated through this issue. That's it. I think it's a self-own in the same way that fucking Kamala Harris engaged in cell phones throughout the entire fucking campaign. At least the difference between Kamala Harris and AOC and Zohran Mamdani is that they have said something in opposition to Israel over and over again. So that kind of makes it even more silly. How should he have communicated it then? I've already said it a million times over in so many different instances, which is just you don't have to bring up the protesters that are saying fucking we support Hamas here. You never have to do that. That's just a completely cynical position, and you can just as easily turn it into a Trump-style media opportunity by going, people want me to fucking condemn the protesters that are protesting outside of a synagogue, when in fact, the real problem that I have is that this synagogue is doing settler fairs. This is illegal. And as mayor, I'm going to be tackling that because I made a promise to my voters that illegal land sales are not allowed in New York State. We are going to be following international humanitarian law here, international human law here, and I will abide by that promise. That's it. That's it. Because, like, on the one hand, you got another settler fair popping up inside of another synagogue. On the other hand, you got people protesting that and saying, say it loud, say it clear, we support Hamas here, right? Like, which one is the more consequential thing? If you look at that and you go, oh my God, I can't believe they said they support the Palestinian resistance. That's the real problem here. You're a fucking dullard. You're dumb. You're a dummy. You're a dummy and you ate the bait. Okay? You're a dummy and you ate the bait. That's it. Oh, that's a terrorist group. Okay, Israel is a fucking terrorist state that has conducted a genocide. These people are protesting against the terrorist state that is doing consistent ethnic cleansing and also illegal land sales. Just Zoran is Mr. Judo. Just fucking judo it. What are we doing? They caught him slacking. 100%. And yeah, calling it anti-Semitism is insanity. That I will not abide by. Okay? You know I don't fuck around with that. It is not, like, it's saying anything about Hamas is not anti-Semitism. Get the fuck out of here. That's bullshit. Which I tweeted about extensively for those of you who are wondering. Anyway, let's blast off real quick. U.S. intervention in Iran, insane ICE crackdown. It's getting full BURGERHITLE. Iran protests turn deadly. Get in now. Trump talks to Hamas. What, like recently, or are you saying in general? Because yeah, he has talked to Hamas, of course. Put the gaming in the bag, little bro. Dude, I have been not doing enough. I've not been doing enough about that. Reportedly, 12,000 people have been killed in the past few days in Iran during the blackout. I don't know if those numbers are correct. Wait, where did you get those numbers from? I mean, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but they've killed a lot of people for sure. And it's not just people that have, it's not that the protesters themselves have also engaged in violence or whatever. And then like they've been incredibly violent in a way to crack down. But I don't think this is like tens of thousands seems much, much higher, even though it could be. That's a CBS News number. You're joking, right? Yeah, I think like the official numbers that are coming are like around 2,000, I think. Apparently, the IRGC themselves are recording 12,000. Iran International Executive Director Mehdi Parpanchi says the figure of 12,000 Iranians killed in a protest based on an IRGC intelligence report submitted to the Iran's presidential. Okay, dude. No, this has got to be another instance of casualty versus killed, where so in the reporting, when people write casualties, this happens with Hamas as well. Hamas communiques will say casualties. Casualties imply people that have been maimed, people that have been shot, people that are in critical condition, and injuries in general. Whereas killed is like a person whose life has been taken. I have not seen the 10,000 numbers. At most, this could probably be, if it's real, at most it's probably a casualty figure that they misreported on as killed. However, the numbers are staggering for sure, because the first couple of days, I think it was like 500 or something. That's what the initial reporting was. I think it's probably larger than that from the things that I have seen so far. It is very difficult to parse through the noise and actually see what's real information and what's not, especially in this new dangerous media environment where Twitter is just chock full of misinformation. This is a perfect opportunity for people to understand why they purchased Twitter, like why Elon Musk purchased Twitter, which is precisely the reason why people won't understand it. Because the best kind of propaganda is propaganda that you don't understand as propaganda, that you don't read as propaganda. It's like something that leans into your suspicions. And in this circumstance, the Islamic Republic is a repressive force. And obviously, these sorts of things have happened in the past as well, which is precisely the reason why you will, which is precisely the reason why this is a opportunity where people will just go, hey, I know that this is like a neo-Nazi website where everyone is a fucking moron, but in this circumstance, it's probably true that like all the reporting on what's going on in Iran that I'm seeing is probably true and real. Also, Kai, please. You haven't even done your 2026 goals yet? I know. I will. But don't you think this is an insane number? This cannot be ignored. Wait, what? What do you mean? I think no matter what the number is, it's an insane number. I mean, if it's 500, it's still a fucking insane number of people that have been killed, brother. But I think it's like there's a total casualty number that people are reporting, which it factors like security forces that have been killed, police officers that have been killed as well. Because it's not like an American style protest, if you know what I mean. It's not even like a Greek style protest where those guys use Molotov cocktails and shit like that. This is beyond a normal protest because state violence is the standard here. If the state is more violent, then the response and the retaliation will be more violent. Add to that a country that is basically a leaky faucet with external actors as well that literally were able to build a fucking drone facility inside of the Iranian nation state's capital. You're gonna have opportunists. You're gonna have real protesters with real anger and resentment towards the administration who are gonna take up arms and fucking shoot people. Shargzadeh did an amazing video on Twitter with the insight on protests. Gave 10 reasons why the protests always fail. Definitely worth watching. Yeah, I saw that. It's closer to a civil war than a classic protest. I wouldn't say it's a class. It's not. I don't think it's a civil war necessarily. The reason why it's not a civil war is because like there isn't enough militant organizing, and the most militant organizing that comes from American involvement. Okay. Like a civil war would require, in this day and age, I don't even know if you can have a civil war in the age of the internet, in the age of like American dominance around the globe. I don't even know if you can have a fucking real civil war at this point. Every civil war inevitably turns into Syria. Every civil war or any sort of like civil dissent that turns into a revolution will be taken on by state actors even Myanmar, honestly, like Myanmar even has a lot of foreign involvement, both with China and also even to a certain degree America as well. It's just like it's virtually impossible to have like a real ass civil war in the way that we used to, you know. I mean, a big part of the fucking Myanmar, like the Islamophobic inception point for Myanmar came from Facebook, dude. It came from fucking WhatsApp. This is like well documented, you know? It was like a shit ton of fake news that was erupted and led to like killing a bunch of Muslims in villages, like just ethnic cleansing taking place in villages where Muslims are living. It's crazy to think about, but in some ways, Elon Musk, I feel like, saw that and was like, bet I can do that. If Zuck can do that, I can do that as well. I genuinely think Elon Musk saw the fucking Human Rights Watch report on Mark Zuckerberg's involvement in the Myanmar genocide of Muslims and was like, oh, I would like to do that. I would like to do that myself for every other country. Because that's where we're at. Like, we used to live in a time where, like, there was at least some sense of, like, decency or at least, like, a little bit of fucking pushback. A little bit of, like, hey, hold on now. Why are you fomenting racialized hatred in this other country? That's weird. You should probably check that. To, there's not really anything we can do. Like, Elon Musk doesn't just do that globally. Elon Musk is doing that in America, dude. He's doing that in Germany. He's doing that in every country that Twitter operates in. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to think about. But that's where we're at. In any case, Kaya, that's not very ladylike of you, madam. It's not very ladylike of you to be chomping on your shit like that, nasty girl. When they do the stare, yeah, no, she got caught and was embarrassed. Yeah, Elon Musk is literally... Anyway, I don't want to even start talking about Elon Musk. Let's talk about Iran. Okay, Iran's protest. Some people are saying it's 2,000 people killed. Some people are saying it's 20,000 people killed. I don't know what the actual numbers are, and neither do you. But it is alarming that CBS News, led by Barry Weiss, the Zionist queen Barry Weiss, has decided it's actually 20,000. Iranian human rights monitors and most intelligence estimates that 2,000 people have been killed in the Iranian unrest, which is a fucking insane number, by the way. That is an unacceptable number. CBS this morning runs a story claiming up to 20,000 have been killed, citing an anonymous source. I wonder who their source was. If Barry Weiss didn't spend the last several years acting as an asset for Benjamin Netanyahu, maybe we could believe that she had any credibility on Middle Eastern matters and actually cares about Muslim life, not just Israeli foreign policy goals, alas. Yeah. One point that I will always go back to is that, you know, my heart is with the people as always, no matter which country that we're talking about, okay? Having said that, however, I will never trust someone who is pro-Israel when they're communicating freeing Iran, okay? I'm sorry, you don't want to free Iran. You want Iran to turn into fucking Syria. You want Iran to turn into fucking Syria. You want to destroy it. You want to turn it into a fucking fail state so it does not have the military prowess or the capabilities of striking back when you decide to finalize your greater Israel project. Suck my fucking dick. I know you don't give a shit when Muslims are dying because you've defended Israel. Okay, you've defended Israel over and over again. Is CBS pro-Israel? Are you fucking kidding me? That's why they purchased it. Yeah, 2,000 is enough for it to be insane. Why do these people always have to make it even higher? Well, it's the same as like October 7. You could have just looked at October 7 and been like, this is a fucking catastrophe. How do we get here? But it didn't matter. They had to be like, they're decapitating babies while raping them, you know? It's just, it doesn't, Like, the truth is not enough. They have to literally they have to do atrocity propaganda. That's it. That's how it always is. That's how it always is. They have to just be like, no, they killed, like, Israel kills hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza. That's nothing. That's just, you know, the cost of doing business. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about that, right? Iran, on the other hand, they've killed 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, you know, however many thousands. Like, it's fucking, like, just report on it accurately. Okay? Report on it accurately. This is unacceptable state repression. Your hate against Kurdish people is clear as day. This is okay. Report on it accurately. It's already an unimaginably cruel form of fucking state repression that took place anyway. Okay? The very fact that it got to this point is already proof that, you know, there is a lot that's going on with the Iranian government that is unsustainable. It should never get to that point. One of the main fucking focuses, I'm Alevi Hassan, do you hate me too? No, I don't hate the Kurds, nor do I hate Alevis. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, it's so funny that, like, Turks by and large say that I'm a part of the PKK. Ulan Türkiye'de PKK'lısın derler, burada Kürt düşmanı derler. Aynen, amına koyayım. In Turkey, they say I'm a fucking PKK militant. In America, they say I'm a fucking hater of Kurds. What are we doing? You know? The fuck? I don't hate anybody. I hate reactionaries. I hate reactionary ideology. I hate fascists. I don't hate any fucking normal person. Especially never on some, like, fucking religious or ethnic boundary. I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. Don't ever do that to me. It's the dumbest fucking argument of all time. Anyway, let's look at ABC News is reporting on the Iran protest, 2,000 killed activists.
This morning, the Trump administration weighing options against Iran in the wake of a growing massacre of unarmed civilians calling for change. According to U.S. officials, new sanctions are on the table against key regime officials. Cyber attacks and influence operations also in play.
Someone highlight this, please. Iranians are not Muslim. We are Zoroastrian. Islam was imposed on us through Arabs' invasion. Oh, brother, please. Oh, my fucking Lord, dude. Dude, this is fun because chatters are about to find out what some of the most insane versions of LARP actually look like. Yeah, dog, you're right. Iran is still maintaining Zoroastrianism, the world's oldest, like, monotheistic organized religion. Yes. Who can forget? If it wasn't for the Arab hordes that Islamicized Iran through conquest, or is it duotheistic? I thought it was monotheistic. My bad. They would still have the towers of the dead everywhere in Iran, where they would put all of the people that die. Yes, we are not Muslim anymore, not after what it did to our nation. Okay, brother. No, it's monotheistic. I thought Zoroastrianism was the oldest monotheistic religion. That's what I remember from my Theology 101 course, but, you know, I'll take it if someone says I'm wrong. I don't fucking know. I don't really remember it that much. Anyway, I think a lot of people don't understand this, and as a Turkish person, I sympathize with it maybe a little too much, and that's the reason why a lot of people fucking make it seem as though, yeah, these idiots act like Islam came to Iran in 1979. Look, listen, okay? This is a little bit of, this is my, like, Reddit atheism coming out a little bit, which is how I used to be when I was growing up in Turkey. I definitely understand why people would not be fond of a lot of the repressive attitudes demonstrated by the fucking Iranian government. That's it. Like, I get it. I know it. I get it. Like, it's not anyone that sits around and acts as though the you know, Islamic forms of governance that is implemented in this massive, incredibly diverse country, entirely comprised of Muslims, by the way, but is not, there's different strokes for different folks, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, not every Muslim. Turkey is a fucking overwhelmingly majority Muslim country, and if you had morality police in any capacity in a fucking Turkish street, people would fucking revolt in the same way. A lot of people look at Islam as this like monolithic understanding of the world, not realizing that every fucking Muslim country has very different ways of self-governance. Okay? That's it. My biggest fear in Iran is that, this kind of, partially due to the incompetence of the government in terms of having to deal with the external forces, external pressures, and also having to increase its internal repression, is going to lead to a failed state, and then have a Syrianization of Iran, and that's going to be even worse than Syria if we're being real. And what a lot of people, I think, fail to consider with Iran is that kind of destabilization actually gives infinitely more credence and credibility to the Islamic State. Like the Iranian government gets all of its justification for repression from external these external factors. Because in the absence of any sort of unifying figure, in the absence of any sort of connective tissue that holds this very diverse country together, it will collapse. 100% Turkey does the same, but to a lesser degree. I mean, what Turkey's done since Erdogan came to power is not even remotely similar to the way that the Islamic Republic has acted in terms of enforcing like religious mandates, and that's not even a comparison. It's weird because there's the good and the bad. On the one hand, there's like tremendous focus on education, and it is clear that the government is like, the government wants to maintain its power, and perhaps the reason why they want to maintain their power is not so that they can dominate the people, which is what everyone will say, from afar, but they want to maintain its grip on power in order to keep the country together. But the way that they're going about it is very clearly unsustainable. They're very clearly unsustainable. You can't be constantly fucking chopping so many of the people that are rising up in arms. You know what I mean? You just can't do that. You can't fucking do that. It's eventually going to come to an end.
As well as potential strikes on military targets. Iran's foreign minister shifting blame, saying demonstrations have turned violent because Trump said he would intervene if there was bloodshed.
The inherent irony here is that this was low-key the reason why the Iranian revolution took place anyway. This is the reason why it happened. Because the Shah was ruthless, was oppressive, and it was an external force. The only reason why the Islamic State is held, okay, is because they're not an external group. They have like real legitimacy from their base of support. But their base of support is also angry because of the economy. So good luck. You know what I mean? If your base of support is also crumbling due to the economy, and I know that there's like a lot of pro-government protests that are taking place right now, but if your base of support is also crumbling, like inevitably you're gonna experience the exact same thing that happened when they deposed the Shah the last time. A big part of the reason why that happened was because of the incredible cruelty. It wasn't just because it was obviously like a Western enforced ownership over the country in a puppet state. It happened partially because of the only ways, if you have a Western enforced puppet state, the only way that you can justify your existence is through repression, is through endless amounts of violence. And the more you increase the intensity of said violence, the harder it gets for you to justify your existence. And inevitably, something will give. The dam will fucking break. There is still a lot of support for the Ayatollah in the country. Make no mistake. I'm not saying that at all. I'm simply stating that this country is a very diverse country. It's a very large country. It's a very proud country, very resilient country. And they are eventually going to have enough mobilization that you will either have to fucking assassinate, execute half the country. You can't do that. That's ridiculous. The state will collapse before that happens. It's also complicated by the dueling power centers. The civilian government, which is mostly publicly accessible, has no oversight of the security forces. The IRGC security establishment has different interests than the civilian admin, who has different interests than the clerical establishment. Very messy. I know. There is not a lot of unity between these different forces, and a secularization on the real centers of power within the Iranian establishment, especially the security establishment, is a non-starter. It's just not going to happen because the connective tissue that holds that together is the mutual belief that they have in Islam, in Shia Islam. So there is no secularization taking place in that regard. But also at the same time, it needs to be top down, is what I'm saying. It needs to be in some way a top down either you need to, if the largest points of pressure is the government, is the state repression, is the economy, and external actors consistently trying to intervene in your affairs, you have to eradicate one of these three, okay? You have to. One of these three things has to go, okay? Because if it doesn't, then you have this. If we're looking at the triangle of pressures that the Iranian people are experiencing, one of these things has to give, okay? What is this guy saying? Don't tell me nothing will work. Do something, Chad. Do something right now. Do something, action and revolution is now. Okay, chatter. Good luck. Oh, no, bro. I'd rather support the side that provides Palestinians with sniper rifles, Yemenis with drones, and Lebanese with missiles. This side at this time happened to be the mullahs, so I'm from the survival of the mullahs. In 1929, Togliatti said that if Mussolini starts supporting Algerian guerrillas against France, Italian communists must not oppose this. It's the same with Iran and Hamas. No, I understand why so many people have this position as well. Yeah. I get it. A destabilized Iran, a failed state in Iran is not only going to be good for the Iranian people, but it will certainly not be good for any of the other countries that are being dominated, any of the other people that are being dominated by American imperialism and Western imperialism in general, and Israel first and foremost, which is an expression of American imperialism in the region. Iran will never become a failed state. I mean, yeah. What should Iranians do? Just protest every day and die without internet? No country is not helping my people. No other country is not helping my people. No, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that something's got to give. So if those are the three major factors here at play, it's the economy, which is born out of Western sanctions, right? Americans are actively starving the Iranian population, okay? And if the other side of the fucking pressures is internal repression, if the other side of the triangle is internal repression, and if the last side of the triangle is consistent Western intervention, not even from the economy side, but Western intervention in the form of espionage and destabilization and things like that, you have to tackle one of these three issues. And I think the one that is the most tackleable is internal repression. the example I'll always use is, I mean, you look at the Gulf states, right? Infinitely less woke than the Iranian government really is. Let's be fucking real, right? The Gulf states are way less woke, quote unquote woke, than the Iranian government is. And yet their people don't revolt. Why don't they revolt? Because they're not fucking on the receiving end of unimaginable sanctions and have consistently been thwarted and destabilized. These are Gulf monarchies that are held together fairly stably, with an entire like the civilians, the actual population is, they might have like their disagreements with the government, but they can't really do anything. They can't really say anything. It's a fucking monarchy, right? But they don't feel the need to because they're still prospering. They have stable economies, all things considered. We saw one example of a single resource economy that was unstable with the people fucking rising up and freaking out. Saudi Arabia, for the longest time, was also a singular resource economy, and it's the same singular fucking resource, and yet they were allowed to exist. What could be the difference between Venezuela and Saudi Arabia in terms of internal repression, in terms of religious repression, for example, or persecution at the behest of like on religious grounds, exists in fucking Gulf states in the same exact ways, if not worse ways, than it does in Iran. What could perhaps be the reason why it doesn't actually become a real problem in the Gulf states, but it becomes a real problem in Iran? There's one factor here, and that is playing ball with the West. Do you understand? That's it. And it's ironic because I know for a fact that the Iranians that are protesting on the streets also don't want Western intervention as well, no matter how hard some people try to make it seem as though they're like, they want the Shah to come in, or they want Israel to come in and protect Iranians or whatever. No, that's not how Iranians are. I'm sure there's some Iranians that are like saying all that dumb shit, but ultimately, no, Iranians just want sovereignty, okay? They want to live normal fucking lives as everybody else does. Like, I promise you, if there's one country on this planet that has been unimaginably resilient to external forces and external pressures, it has been fucking Iran. They already had a successful revolution for this reason. North Korea slander, fair. Facts. North Korea, another country that is like has deep, long-standing ties to the Iranian Revolution, ironically enough.
Human rights activists reporting more than 640 people have been killed since the protest began 2 weeks ago. Over 10,000 arrested. The unrest sparked by a deepening cost of living crisis with massive inflation and a collapsing currency. Now, an internet blackout imposed to try to stop the flow of information, but activists say protests ongoing. Dr. Kayvan Miradi, an Iranian-American...
What is this? You couldn't be more wrong saying the regime has a lot of support in Iran. If you're PR, the government in Iran, you are either benefiting financially or connected to the RGC in some way. I knew you grew up in Turkey, but from my first-hand experience, you don't realize how bad things are? No, I do. I mean, come on. This is the same thing that I tell my Turkish counterparts as well, who fucking say like Erdogan doesn't have any support. And year over year, we have deluded ourselves into thinking that Erdogan does not have a fucking base of support. He does, okay? 90 million people. There is a decent, sizable chunk of people, at least like a quarter of the population still supports it. That there's no world where like you can consistently engage in this kind of repression. The reason why these protests started was because it was from their base. The people that operate marketplaces that are normally supposed to be in the base of support of the Islamic Republic, they were the people that were protesting because they were like, the economy is shit. And then it exploded into this much larger thing because of all the other factors that I explained over and over again. You know? What do you mean by woke when you talk about Iran? I'm just saying, like, as far as comparing it to other single resource economies or other economies right there in the fucking Gulf region, the situation in Iran, like the internal governance of Iran, is far more complicated, far more complex than people actually make it seem to be. And not only that, but also they are literally like they're in some ways there's a lot of repression, and in other ways they are woke by American standards in comparison to like fucking Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? Where you only recently women were allowed to fucking drive. Okay, woke is in social liberties. But wokeism, the population is definitely, there is a very large number of people in Iran that are woke by our understanding, by like the Western understanding. It's a silly way to approach this subject. I'm not saying people deserve freedom only if they're fucking, living in the way that, I think they should be. Okay. But there are obviously a lot of woke people, quote unquote, woke people in Iran. It's ironic because like, more often than not, it's like the hogs in the West that are the ones who are going, look at how feminist these people are. Look at how woke these people are. Meanwhile, they want the fucking Islamic Republic, but Christian style in America. Like, their ideological commitment to state repression with religious justifications is endless when it comes to the fucking West. And yet they turn around and say, look how woke these people are. It's fucking disgusting. It's gross. It pisses me off. In any case, there's obviously other elements of the state that is very not woke, okay? Like, you cannot be gay, all right? You cannot be gay in Iran. It's just not happening. But then again, can you be gay in Saudi Arabia? Right? And this is not whataboutism. I'm just like comparing the way we interpret certain countries in the region and whether or not they are allowed, whether or not they are stable, okay? Saudi Arabia is fucking stable. Qatar is stable. Well, Qatar is like more woke than the rest of these countries, but regardless, they're stable, okay? Qatar is stable. Saudi Arabia is stable. The UAE is stable, okay? Iran, not so stable. One must ask the question, why? It's because Iran is seen as an adversary, a foreign adversary. If you are not seen as a foreign adversary, you are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to exist. You are allowed to maintain stability. No matter how repressive you might get, it doesn't matter. We'll turn a blind eye. We will not talk about it. We do not have a major diaspora community here of Saudis that are constantly fucking demanding a secular democracy change the trajectory of the country. It doesn't work. There's no sanctions on Saudi Arabia in the same way that there is in Iran. This doesn't mean that like the people's demands are not just, for the record, in Iran. They are just. Do you think CIA and Mossad are involved, or is it a rebellion? It's both. There is very real anger and resentment in Iran, okay? That doesn't mean that there isn't like CIA and Mossad involvement in it. Of course there is. That's why I said it's very difficult to have a real civil war at any point in this day and age. You cannot have like a real ass civil war. You cannot have like a real ass revolution at this point because unless you have like overwhelming militancy in your organizing, born out of a domestic population, it's going to be very fucking difficult. Very, very difficult.
Doctor in the US says he's in touch with doctors inside Iran's hospitals who've made contact via the satellite service Starlink.
They said bodies and bodies of dead people just coming in. There's no place for the morgue to even put them.
This video shows people searching rows of body bags inside a morgue in Tehran, desperate to find missing relatives. And this morning, the regime cracking down even further, vowing to punish some of those arrested severely and swiftly, with fears of widespread executions.
Well, these are some of the most consequential protests we've seen inside Iran for years. The White House and Iran both indicating talks are possible, but with threats from President Trump and Iranian hardliners not backing down, there doesn't seem to be a quick or peaceful resolution in sight. Michael?
And that is what is needed, though, Ian. Thank you so much for that.
We have some horrific information coming in from Iran right now.
What the fuck? CBS 8 San Diego, over 12,000. ABC says over 2,000 casualties. CBS goes 12,000. Death toll has I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the actual death toll is. I don't know. But it is crazy to me that like the fucking president is saying we don't know how many people have actually died, but apparently CBS knows. How the fuck did they find out? I wonder. 12,000 is over 2,000. True.
Patriots, keep protesting, take over your institutions if possible, and save.
Yeah, I'm going to be using this clip in a couple months when this is happening in America, okay? Just remember that. I just remember all the things that this administration is saying about the righteous protests of the Iranian people. They deserve to be free. All that. Patriots, rise up, okay? You have nothing to lose but your fucking chains. When that shit is going down in America, then you'll see. From the administration that brought you, if you don't obey, you die, comes patriots rise up and storm government buildings.
Save the name of the killers and the abusers that are abusing you. You're being very badly abused. If the numbers are right now, I hear 5 different sets of numbers. I hear numbers. Look, 1 death is too much. But
oh, really? Because yesterday you said Renee Good was being really disrespectful, implying that she did deserve to fucking die in the hands of ICE because of her disrespect. Oh, really? I mean, I agree. Even one death is too much. I agree. I think it's fucking bullshit. What the Iranian government has done is bullshit. Having said that, very strange for the American regime to be saying these things in the process of mass apprehensions, door-knocking operations, and dragnets taking place in fucking Minneapolis. Very strange, Trump. What's going on here? It's odd. It's very odd. And I do see this inconsistency with all of the Republican commentariat. They all talk extensively. About how people deserve to fucking die in America if they disobey commands from ICE. And then they turn around and talk about free Iran. As I said yesterday, bitch, what do you mean free Iran? Free us too? Fuck you mean free Iran? I'm hearing you say don't free America from the American regime. What the hell? What the heliante? Motherfuckers be like, free Iran. Free you. Free you. Free you. Free me. Fuck you mean, dude? Free us. God damn. Yeah, I tweeted this yesterday. I said, nothing more insane than seeing the American right wingers on this website demand the government kill ICE protesters only to turn around and say free Iran. Bitch, you don't even want to free America. Fuck you mean free Iran? You're demanding the American regime kill your countrymen right now. Free us too, bro. What the fuck? Rise up, patriots. Take over the institutions. I say some shit like that in America, I got a fucking squad car outside of my house in less than an hour.
I hear much lower numbers, and then I hear much higher numbers. But I say save their names because they'll pay a very big price. And I've canceled all meetings with the Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. And all I say to them is help is on its way. You saw that I put tariffs.
Yeah, he's not even doing the classic in Iran. Like, he should be adding in Iran at the tail end of all of these statements, because if you just leave it hanging like that, people are going to get the wrong idea, okay? Because this is our Shah, okay? This is our Pahlavi. This is the great Shah. He loves the gold, okay? He loves the fucking gold toilets and all this shit. He is our own version of the Shah. And this motherfucker's out here talking about like storming government facilities, you know? I'm just saying, it's a weird thing to be saying if you are also a ruthless autocrat, actively trying to turn the United States of America into your own version of this like fascist economy, fascist government. Very repressive. Utilizing your own personal military force. Sure, it's not called SAVAK, okay? It's called ICE. Different name. But that's what's happening.
On anybody doing business with Iran. Just went into effect today. And I say, make Iran great again. You know, it was a great country until these monsters came in and took it over. And it's all very fragile. It would have happened to us, I'm telling you. If I didn't win this election, it would have happened to us.
Yeah, Mr. America First, by the way. I'm sorry, dude, but if you don't recognize how easy it is right now in this very moment to turn around the Republicans and say, like, look, why is this motherfucker talking about Iran? Why is this motherfucker talking about Israel? He wants to make Israel great again. He wants to make Iran great again. How about you make America great again, bitch? You said America first. It seems like America's last right now. Okay, this is a unique opportunity to get all of your hog and hoggette friends on board that Mr. Non-interventionist, Mr. We're going to spend all this money on America and Americans is not doing that at all. Because that was a major fucking driving force for a lot of people. That was a major driving force for a lot of people, okay? There was a major driving force for a lot of his own fans, his own voters. Use that to your advantage because this is a unique opportunity where, like, the economy is in the fucking gutter. The economy is shit. He constantly is intervening in the affairs of other countries and openly making like, he's pulling a fucking Emmanuel Macron right now, right? He's lost his own base of support, so he's just like doing foreign policy in an effort to be like, I'm still here, by the way. That's what Emmanuel Macron does in France. He's lost his legitimacy. He's undemocratically trying to fucking move the country in his own vision. Everybody fucking hates him for all of the things that he's doing at the domestic level. So he just keeps farming foreign policy. Okay? He just keeps farming foreign policy shit. That's what Trump is doing. Anyway, I shouldn't be giving example. Like the analogy, using the France analogy here is probably not going to help people understand what I'm talking about because you don't know what the fucking domestic affairs in France looks like. But if you do know, then you understand. This is a one-to-one comparison in some ways. Trump does this, though. He can't accept an easy win. COVID would have been the easiest fucking win with his Make America XX stuff, and he fucked that up, too. He's got no vision for anything. Did you see Al Jazeera's reporting on Iran? No, this is one of the... Iran has no allies, okay? The Iranian government has no allies. And in some ways, the Iranian people don't have any fucking real allies either. They only have people on their side for their own personal interests in the country, okay? So you're not going to see a lot of state... you're not going to see a lot of state actors, whether it be Qatar or whether it be any other fucking Western state, that will... look at the situation and analyze it evenly. Look at the situation and analyze it objectively. You're not going to see a lot of nuance from people. You're just going to, like, this is where the state interest will override whatever kind of reporting they normally would do. Got to add hatred of Muslims to the Macron recipe to be perfect. He's ticking all the boxes. I'm going to say something quite... I'm going to say something that will come across... as fucked up. Baldy is mic dropping all your reacts. Good luck. Who? Bald and bankrupt? I'm going to say something here that might come across as crazy. I think Donald Trump is less Islamophobic than Macron is. I said it. I think he loves money, and the fucking... The Saudis and the Gulf regions, the royals in the region have given him so much money that he is nowhere near as Islamophobic as like Macron is, okay? Because he loves money first and foremost. He's like, I got Jewish money. I got Jew money from Miriam, and now I love the Jews. I got Islamist money from the Muslim man, and now I love the Muslims. Okay, that's it. That's how he operates. What you see is what you get. What a beautiful Islamic style plane they gave me. The Qatar people, the very proud people, they gave me such a beautiful plane. I say to myself, Inshallah, we will free the region. Give him more money, he's going to start talking about, may Allah awaken the people to the evil doings of Israel. Inshallah. He has already said that. He has already said that. He said, Inshallah, I will destroy the Zionist entity piece by piece. The real jihad is one that is in our hearts, a daily struggle. So, yeah.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
God, it's the greatest. It's the greatest video of all time, okay? Yeah. Write enough checks, and boom, you will get this, okay? Anyway, only used for AI? Wait, no, this is not AI. Chat. This is a real thing that he said. He was quoting Ilhan Omar, but that's a real thing. Yeah, this is pre-AI. This is from like 2018 or 2019 or something. Like this is before AI was capable of making these sorts of videos anyway. Yeah. This is one of my favorite videos of all time, dude. Are you kidding me? I thought it was an AI voiceover. I never realized he actually said it. Yes, he was talking about Ilhan Omar. He was like, Donald Trump has hated Ilhan Omar and wanted to kill Ilhan Omar for like forever. Okay, he used to literally do these massive rallies and put her face up on the fucking jumbotron every time and just do like a 5-minute thing about Ilhan Omar and how she is like a parasitic and how she's awful. He has almost as much smoke for Ilhan Omar as he does Barack Obama. Like he would do like a wanted poster of Ilhan Omar. 1 million berries. Biggest bounty. She's the biggest pirate. Anyway. I have that clip saved forever. Yeah. Where were we? What were we talking about? What were we talking about? Yeah. So the numbers are fucking, CBS numbers are crazy.
Numbers are staggering. I mean, heartbreaking. I can't even fathom this as I'm reading this, but CBS News has just confirmed that sources are telling them at least 12,000 people have been killed in Iran amid these protests.
I'm gonna be honest, dude. I'm gonna be honest. Controversial opinion. Everyone will fucking look at what I'm saying here and immediately lock in and say, oh, you're just a defender of the IRGC. You love the Ayatollah. You want Islamist fundamentalism, blah, 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 all this shit. Controversial opinion for the chatters here. I don't think American mainstream media should be doing Twitter level propaganda. Okay? Like even in the past, you know, we had this iteration in the first Gulf incursion, right? Where you know, they were talking about how like babies were being flinged off the roofs and like you know, they saw it with their own 2 eyes, and it was a much more sophisticated version of like blood libel and propaganda that justified American intervention. This is not even as sophisticated. This is just like straightforward October 7 Hasbara level bullshit. You know? Yeah, incubators in Kuwait. For those of you who don't know, this was a very famous story in the first Gulf War. You had much less concern about the reporting death tolls from Gaza. brother or sister, are you okay? Not trolling. Yeah, I don't think you're trolling. I think your brain has ceased to function. The numbers from the Palestinian Health Ministry have been backed by numerous international organizations over and over and over again. Of course, there is verifiable evidence there, including the American State Department uses official numbers from the Palestinian Health Ministry. At a time when Joe Biden was running around saying, I don't actually trust the fucking numbers coming from the Hamas health ministry or whatever, the American State Department and the Israeli government was still using the death counts that the Palestinian Health Ministry was giving. You know that, right? No, you don't know that because you don't know anything. There's reason to believe the accuracy in those numbers. There is not a lot of reason to believe the accuracy in CBS News' reporting, which contradicts reporting from all other American media outlets. Weirdly enough. Gotcha. Go back to gotcha game gambling. You're better at that. I am so confused as to what this how this is relevant to this conversation at all. I don't even know if you're going to be able to like win people over with this. Everybody knows that I'm fucking anti-gambling across the board. But the bots are out in full force today.
Possibly as many as 20,000 people have been killed. So this is according to CBS News. That's
so if not eggs, where should the news be covered? Lamont pointing a problem out without a solution is a mid-skill. No, first of all, Twitter didn't used to have this level of misinformation flying around. And not only that, but instead of like mainstream media basically picking up the slack and getting better at reporting accurately, they've decided to lean into Twitter-style misinformation with one of the major fucking American news outlets, CBS, after the Ellison takeover. And I think that's really, really damaging. That is really, really fucking devastating. And if you can't see why that's devastating, I don't know what to tell you. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
At least 12,000 people have been killed in Iran amid these protests. Possibly as many as 20,000 people have been killed. So this is according to CBS News. That's where we get our information. Our network has a lot of sources there, looking through all the videos, talking to several people. And unfortunately, this is
what the fuck is this?
Information we're getting. As you know, the internet has been cut off. Just recently this morning, phone calls have been back on, but only for people in Iran to call people outside of the country. People are not able to call into Iran from outside. And still the internet, it's shut off for so many. We've heard people having to go several hundreds of miles to just upload some of the videos that you're seeing from Iran. So a source inside Iran was able to call out to CBS News today saying security forces were also visiting many of the private hospitals across Tehran, the capital, and they're threatening staff to hand over the names and addresses.
I don't think this is good. I think purely from an American perspective, okay, selfish American here reporting, I think it's very bad that one of the major mainstream media resources is basically doing free press style coverage, like directly at the behest of Israel too. It is fucking nutty. Okay. Like we already have enough of it, but at least the New York Times and all these other fucking outlets have the decency to just, if they're going to lie in the direction of Israel, they will try to make that lie look more reasonable. This is completely insane. And just as there is price leadership in all of the corporate consolidated sectors, there is going to be a slop leadership here. And the more CBS produces slop, I think it'll cause CNN and New York Times to also drop what remained of their fucking standards at a time when we need mainstream media to be as accurate as fucking possible. Oh my Lord, this is really fucked up. This is really bad. When there is no reason to even lean into credibility so you can be more effective in doing propaganda at the behest of the State Department in times of need, when there's no need for that at all, when the media basically drops this shit completely and no longer needs to be reliable, no longer needs to be credible at all, and the audience is not responding to it in a negative fashion, we are fucked, okay? It's only going to get worse. There will be no consensus reality, just, different biases being demonstrated over and over again.
Crisis goes on, the White House is itching to take some sort of action, but we don't really know what sort of action they may be considering. There are a number of options, of course. The non-kinetic options, the peaceful options, include more sanctions, using tariffs to try to isolate the government in Tehran.
There is no tariffing to isolate the government in Tehran, okay? It's just not happening. Like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing that you can do, and that's not the point of sanctions anyway. It's not peaceful. Sanctions are collective punishment, okay? Oh yeah, we'll do sanctions on Iran. We'll do sanctions. This is the most peaceful way to operate. It's just, God, I fucking hate Western chauvinism so much. It is so clearly hypocritical. Oh, we must liberate the Iranian people. And by that, I mean we must starve them even further so that they have no other option but to engage in violent rebellion. Okay, we must peacefully starve the children of Iran. This is the only way forward. I am wearing a suit, you see. I'm very clearly enunciating the words. I'm pronouncing them in the way that I am. So you know that I actually have a much more sophisticated understanding of how we must starve the Iranian population. Yes, look at how dignified I am. Oh, very different than the monstrous Donald Trump. Oh.
Which is already, look as if it's taking place. And the idea of cyber attacks, perhaps, on the Guard, the Revolutionary Guard, who are actually conducting the oppression of the protesters out in the streets of many, many cities.
Yeah. I'm a person in favor of liberating Iran. I want Iranians to no longer suffer, which is why my solution is starving them further. You see how stupid that is? These are not pawns in your fucking political game, okay? These are human beings with dreams. These are human beings that are worthy of dignity. And you're over here talking about starving them. Like, you're over here talking about starving them because if they starve even further, then they'll actually fucking engage in like a violent revolution. What a fucking insane attitude. What an insane attitude to demonstrate. What's your solution? Not starving them would be a good start. Remove the fucking sanctions instantly.
Beyond that, of course, there are the military options. And if we think about military strikes, there are three types of target that would make a certain amount of sense to the United States. One type of target might be the nuclear facilities of Iran. There are plenty of them. There are many of them that the United States would still like to attack, and so would the Israelis. The problem with that is that it wouldn't act.
Sanctions only work on allies. Okay, sanctions are only effective on allies. This is why I am in favor of sanctioning Israel, okay, ironically enough, because even the mere threat of sanctions or economic, like any sort of like pullback economically from Israel will cause the Israeli government to reconsider the way that they're approaching everything.
Actually help the protesters very much, and it will be an attack on some background element. States would still like to attack
the nuclear facilities, the nuclear power plants, by the way. Like, if you strike the Iranian nuclear power plants, this would be very helpful for the Iranian population. Yeah, like they don't have fucking grandparents in the hospital down the goddamn nuclear facility that's being powered by the fucking nuclear power plant. What do you mean? Also, you can't hit those nuclear power plants because half of them are Russian anyway, and Americans are not going to fucking do that. I think a lot of people forget that there was a reason why America did not hit any nuclear power plant beyond the designated ones, because, I mean, we've moved past the point of how this is a war crime, right? And we only understand that it's a war crime when Russia does it to Ukraine. That's the only time people understand that that might be a fucking war crime, okay? But because the international law is completely over and there's no reason to even entertain it, we're just talking about hitting fucking Iranian nuclear power plants. Holy shit.
And so would the Israelis. The problem with that is that it wouldn't actually help the protesters very much, and it would be an attack on some background elements of Iran, which might be quite counterproductive. A second set of targets might be the Revolutionary Guard headquarters and the way in which they operate in the major cities. But the problem is they do operate in the major cities like Shiraz and Isfahan and Mashhad and Tehran. And so attacking their facilities almost certainly would cause civilian casualties, and that too might be counterproductive. A third sort of target might be the oil and gas infrastructure of Iran, and this would have an immediate effect, particularly in areas like Hag Island and Bandar Abbas. The South Pars gas field is the biggest single gas field in the world. It's shared with
Qatar. It's literally fucking... It's the Qatari gas field, dude. We're so fucking dumb. I swear to God. Dude, the West is so insane, brother. What are you saying? Yeah, there's no other way out of this. You are gonna starve, okay? If you're Iranian and you're like, please, like, can I have some food? Can I have a crumb of liberalization, a crumb of secular democracy? And the options are no, okay? Internally, the options are no. And they can just turn around and say, well, look, this is how they speak about you. This is what they want to do to you. What do you want? Not us? Who do you want to be fucking in charge of all this stuff? It's crazy.
Qatar. Hitting the gas field would be a very foolish thing to do, but hitting the transmission of Iranian gas from the field to the inland areas, to places like Bashir, that might have a very...
About your solution, Obama tried and it didn't help the Iranian people. What the fuck are you talking about? It absolutely did. It absolutely did. What the JCPOA was actually fucking awesome. The problem is they immediately, Israel literally clamped down instantly. We are so fucking Israeli owned, okay? We are so goddamn Israeli owned that in the aftermath of JCPOA, which was supposed to come with sanctions relief, Benjamin Netanyahu went to Congress, was invited by Chuck fucking Schumer at the time, ironically enough, alongside, Republican counterparts, and got a fucking standing ovation against the American president for American intervention in the region that was beneficial for the Iranian population. What the fuck are you talking about? And then Donald Trump came in, the number one dick rider of Israel, okay? Shouts out to Sheldon Adelson, rotting in fucking hell right now, okay? He's looking up at us, Jabba the Hutt motherfucker. Sheldon Adelson gave, $200 million to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump immediately was like, the denuclearization agreement, we're putting sanctions on Iran. We're putting infinitely more sanctions on Iran. Iran just had more money to pay its proxies, didn't pat a penny to the Iranians. Really? So the Iranian population was starving and suffering in the same way right now as they were in the aftermath of like imminent sanctions relief. So strange to me how the only way to shut off the money faucet to Iranian proxies, or the only way to stop Iran from participating in the region, is not by de-escalating militarily, for the record, no, because they have to do the cleanup job of like American intervention, ISIS and things of that nature, right? But the only way to fucking stop this process is by starving the Iranian population. Sorry, no other way to do it. Yeah, let's keep starving and killing Iranian children, and then eventually they will find out.
Immediate economic effect on the government in Tehran. Ultimately, of course, it would affect the people of Tehran. It would affect the economy pretty directly, but it would affect the government in Tehran even more directly. And that might be a tempting...
Why are you saying the Iranians are starving as if it's a failed state under a famine? The Iranian economy is in a fucking dire situation right now, directly as a byproduct of American sanctions and American economic intervention. This is true. It's not a failed state under a famine, but we are basically trying to create a failed state under a famine-like condition for the Iranians with the open goal of fomenting revolt. It's not like this is a secret, guys. What are we talking about? They openly say it. They say sanctions are fucking awesome and great. And look, Look how pissed off the Iranians are. They basically put up their W's on the board over and over again. Okay? Yes, corruption and incompetence plays a role in this as well, but you're out of your fucking mind if you don't think it's the sanctions first and foremost. You think the fucking Gulf monarchs are not corrupt or incompetent? They are, but they're utterly devoid of sanctions, so the population doesn't rise up. It's that fucking simple. Oh. Kind of insane that the pro-sanctions position in 2017-2014 was that sanctions don't work. As with other things, Israel would never ask America to fight its wars. Of course, you have to die for Israel. The hawks lie and lie right until they have what they want. Exactly. Time was broad sanctions or a form of collective punishment against civilians was a fringe far-left conspiracy. Now it's openly talked about by its supporters. So now we can drop this pretense, I guess. Yeah. Americans are becoming way more open about the American foreign policy and the violence that it dishes out in the region. Way more open. This is another one of those moments. And it's like you have to figure out which side you're on this issue, okay? You have to figure out which side you're on. You either look at the situation and Trump saying the quiet part out loud and decide this is a good thing, this benefits us somehow. You try to fucking justify it to a certain degree in your own fucked up, twisted, distorted morality. Or you look at the situation and you say, this is fucked up and wrong. There has to be a more peaceful solution here.
Of targets for the United States.
Is this the new Syria? No, it's not. It's not. It's not the new Syria, at least so far. The reason why it's not the new Syria, this is the Zoroastrian chatter, by the way. Just answer my question for 1 second. Removing the sanctions will help the regime prevail. We, the Persian people, want the mullahs gone. We're done. We don't care anymore, and we don't want extremists ruling our country. Okay, you can actually have a more healthy and robust base of support that can organize against the fucking mullahs if you aren't starving, okay? It's that simple. You can say we all day, every day, but the reality of the matter is the more there are crippling sanctions, the more anger people experience, the more repression comes. If your goal is to eradicate repression from the state, then you shouldn't be fucking advocating for more sanctions. You shouldn't be advocating for Western intervention, because the more Western intervention comes in, the more the state becomes repressive in an effort to control and in an effort to maintain its sovereignty. I think speed analysis of this country is not fair to the people. I mean, I agree. The newly formed regime of Iran in 1988 executed 30,000 who were leftists, although these numbers may seem too high for you. I don't think you know the nature of this regime. No, I do. I do. The number one ops, let's be real, the number one ops for the Ayatollah has always been the Iranian left, okay? They have been way more aggressive in stamping out any sort of any sort of fucking socialist formation in Iran. HasanAbi horrible takes on Iran law. There is a reason for it, okay? Now, of course, part of the reason is because you got the MEK, which it's not dissimilar to how Erdogan used the real existing parallel state that Fethullah Gulen had cultivated in an effort to go after all of his fucking liberal and left-wing enemies in the country. There is a good reason for why you engage in this kind of state repression when you have like a psychotic cult, for example, that presents itself as like a socialist formation that is directly propped up and backed by the American government. You know, it's a CIA operation in its entirety at this point with no real base of support internally inside of Iran. I'm talking about the MEK right now. Okay. But then beyond that, which is deeply unpopular inside of Iran. But beyond that, there are, Iranian communists, Iranian socialists, Iranian trade unionists, like plenty of academics that are very progressive, very leftist, that have been kept at bay over and over again, that have been on the receiving end of unlimited state repression, because those are the guys that could potentially build a real robust movement in the direction of secularization.
Ultimately, of course, all of this is about whether the outbreak of disorder...
You have to understand, people who are in support of the fucking Shah are not really seen as a major threat in the eyes of the Islamic Republic, okay? They're not. They're not a real threat at all. people who are pro MEK are not a real threat at all. There's not really any fucking robust MEK movement internally inside of Iran anyway. Okay? It doesn't exist. And these guys are not a threat because they can always fucking point to that and say, hey, guess what? All of your allies are in America. All of the people that claim they want what's best for you are in America. They're in the West. And what has the West done to you? They've only delivered lead and economic despair and nothing else. As a very patriotic Iranian, I like to think so anyway, I'm completely against any Israel and U.S.-backed intervention because no good can come of it in terms of long-term sovereignty, but I've also been exhausted as every attempt of internal reform has been shut down every time. It's a choice of two evils, independent but doomed, or a complete puppet state but some economic prosperity. Please respond if possible. Yes, this is, and it's going to get worse. No, I agree with you 100%. That's why I said, if there is a trifecta of pressure here that people are experiencing, economic pressure, Western intervention, and the last one being the internal repression and suppression from the Islamic State, then eventually one of these things has to be clawed back. If you don't do that, then eventually people are going to start saying, you know what? I don't mind fucking Western intervention in the country, as a matter of fact. I don't mind Western intervention at all. I would rather, because in the eyes of especially young Iranians, they only see morality police. They see their friends getting fucking thrown in prison by the mullahs. They don't think about like how Israel has so far not thrown them in prison, you know, or an Israeli puppet has not thrown them in prison. So they think, all right, fuck this guy. This is my number one op. This is the reason why I'm experiencing despair. This is the reason why the country is in the shitter. That's where I feel we are at the moment. The majority of us don't care anymore. We honestly seem to prefer Western intervention, sadly. This is unfortunately a byproduct of mismanagement from the Ayatollah in general. Yes, Iranians just want the regime gone and they don't care how. They're weirdly pro-U.S. in my experience just because the enemy is my friend. No, some Iranians are. And the number of Iranians that are pro-Western intervention at this point are growing, especially amongst the youth in general, or different sects, different ethnic backgrounds internally inside of Iran that have gotten like aid and support from the United States of America and maybe even Israel as a way to foment discontent and destabilize the country. But the reality of the matter is, that kind of intervention is only going to lead, by my assessment, in the absence of a real robust movement that is thinking about the next steps forward and maintaining sovereignty, that is only going to lead to a Syria-style situation in Iran. And that would be fucking devastating. I don't think any Iranian wants Syria. I left Iran in 2008 after the reformist uprising. I live in the U.S. now. My parents are still there. Anything I say must be filtered through a royalist lens. In 2025, over 670 Iranians were detained and deported by ICE. Just like us here, options are limited for people on the ground.
Yeah, and that's our current map of how big the disorder is across Iran. Whether that outbreak of disorder is better helped by military action or by non-military action. We're going to find out the answer that the White House comes up with quite soon.
Smiling and waving.
I think the only thing that has kept Donald Trump from intervening militarily is quite literally the more reasonable people in his fucking corner saying, if you bomb them right now, you will only be helping the state, which is true. But we shall see, because they have literally done this. They've done this before against, like, they have demonstrated some level of restraint in Venezuela, which has led to this like weird situation where they're playing ball with Delcy Rodriguez because they have to maintain stability if they want to extract oil, if they want to go into the fucking refineries and build them up again. That requires a lot of fucking investment. And unless, in the absence of boots on the ground, that extraction is never going to happen unless you have a stable government, okay? Unless you want to do a 20-year quagmire again, which might be the end of the American state and the end of the American empire as we see it. You know, you're going to have to play ball with Delcy Rodriguez. You're going to have to play ball with the Chavistas in order to maintain stability. And the same goes for Iran as well. You can't think these are all bots. Not everything is fake. The CIA loves to amplify stuff, but it's not just conjuring discontent out of midair. Yes. Same shit these bots were saying about Venezuela, bro. Stop reading CIA bots. No. You have to understand. Okay? There's a difference here. There is definitely a difference here. I parse through the pro-Shah, pro-Langley fucking position all the time. Okay? There are a lot of people who are engaging in this kind of fucking propaganda, but there are also very real points of discontent in Iran. Like, that's crazy. You can't say that this is just all CIA or all Mossad, chatters. Like, the CIA and Mossad cannot hypnotize people into fucking taking up arms against the state. They have to lean into pressure points. They create the pressure points by destabilizing the economy, by destroying the economy, engaging in economic piracy. Okay. And then when there is discontent, they ham it up, they beef it up, they arm it. By the way, we're having this conversation, but it does kind of feel like the protests are largely over, but this is just one round. You know, it might happen again, and next time it's going to be even more violent, okay? Something's got to give.
Hand on heart, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian, as he marched alongside crowds the government asked to come out in support. As videos like this one show the bodies of those who oppose it lying in morgues, the cries of a relative off screen but unmistakable.
Yeah, the protests are over. That's why the Iranian state is like showing the fucking body bags and stuff like that. That's why they're giving people access to internet again so they can, like, you know, show the rest of the world what took place. And that's also the reason why Donald Trump is saying, keep protesting, Iranians, keep taking over your institutions, do it. Take up arms against the government. I'm very far left and spent a significant time amount in Cuba, but my friends in Havana, erroneously in my view, are in favor of U.S. intervention here. The sentiment is undeniably real, as misguided as I think it is. Like, when I say something's got to give, what I mean is the administrative state has to fucking, and they've already done this to a certain degree, but obviously not enough. Because, like, there's a reason why after the Masa Amini protest that took place, right, the government actually was more restrained as far as, like, having morality police in every fucking corner in major cities. So there are parts of Iran where this, like, secularization did take place to a certain degree, okay? But it's a constant push and pull. This is not me being like a Western chauvinist or a Western liberal at all. I'm saying this maybe because of my Turkish background, but I'm saying this as, like, someone who understands why there would be real animosity towards the state in this day and age, a modern world, in a modern universe where everyone has access to the fucking internet. There is always going to be a lot of negative pushback against the state that is, you know, enforcing any sort of, like, religious repression. And let's be real, they did. First, they obviously stamped out all the protests in a very violent way, and then they turned around and scaled back. They turned around and scaled back on some of these initiatives in big cities. And that's precisely the reason why when you go to, like, if you go to, like, a city like Tehran, there isn't a lot of, like, people are able to walk around without having to wear a hijab or something like that. But you have to do that across the board. You have to do that across the board, and you have to entertain the needs of the masses. Something has to give. And if you don't do that, because that's the only thing in your power to do so, if you don't do that because you think the only way that you can enforce, the only way that you can continue leaning into your base of support, which from the you know, the Shia side that is invested in continuing the Islamic Republic in the way that it is, you are going to you're gonna have all of the other groups, that don't like it, get more and more mad. Because you have no control over the fucking sanctions. You can't fix the economy because the American government wants to keep punishing you and punishing your people. The Iranian government has to make way for some reform. But the fears of why the fears of why they don't want, the fears of why they can't let go of this attitude is because, as I've said over and over again, in countries like Iran, in countries over there, okay, you're talking about people who don't even have internet access. Otherwise, this chat wouldn't be empty of Iranians telling you that you're wrong and spreading lies. What have I said that you think is an abject lie here? What, like, are you, I can't tell if this is like the pro-Ayatollah or anti-Ayatollah and thinks I'm not being anti-Ayatollah enough or something like that. Like, what do you, what's, oh, you said the protests are over? Is that what you're saying? That is what I'm saying that the protests have largely, they're not completely over. That's why I said we shall see what happens. But this round of the protests are over because they violently suppressed them. This is not incorrect at all. What do you mean? This is why I can't understand if it's like someone who is assuming a much more campus position than I am, or someone who is saying I'm not going hard enough. Let's see. Putting aside all the partisan talk and all the war-driven narratives you're using, your support of Mossadegh clearly shows your political stance. But as an Iranian patriot, the story of Iran is different. We love our country, and without a king, our nation feels incomplete. After 2,500 years of monarchy, these past 50 years are the first time we have not had a king. Just look at what has happened. Go and read Iranian history. Iranians want only their king. I know this may be difficult for... Incredible work, my friend. Incredible work. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
As the regime-imposed internet blackout enters its 5th day, snapshots
It's
of...
so disrespectful to all these fucking people that are protesting and died in the process to be like, oh, they all died because they wanted a fucking monarch. Okay? Yeah. How do you claim to be a fucking Iranian nationalist? See bodies of your countrymen slain in fucking body bags outside of hospitals and go, they all died because they wanted Milord. They all died because they wanted the Western puppet to come in and seize control over the country. Yeah, dude. That's what they wanted. That's why they fucking died. It's disrespectful as shit.
What Iranian authorities don't want you to see continue to emerge slowly and with caution.
I would suggest this longer Channel 4 updated report that just came out.
This is the Karazakh Medical Forensic Center in southern Tehran. We understand that this footage was...
Oh, my...
What, right?
I mean, I'll look at that and then I'll look at the other video as well because I want to see what's happening there, you know?
This is the Karazakh Medical Forensic Center.
Oh, there's TOS here? Fuck. Okay, god damn it. Okay, I can't play it yet.
These images, too distressing and dangerous for relatives to show unblurred, reveal families looking for their loved ones among the dead, with so many body bags that some are left lying outside. Just how many have been killed is still unknown. An Iranian official told Reuters the death toll was now at 2,000, while rights groups say it could be much higher. A spokesperson for the UN Human Rights Chief today said he was horrified not just by the violence meted out by security forces against protesters, but suggestions they could soon face the death penalty.
It is also extremely worrying to see public statements by some judicial officials indicating the possibility of the death penalty being used against protesters through expedited judicial proceedings. The High Commissioner stresses that Iranians have the right to demonstrate peacefully. Their grievances need to be heard and addressed, and not instrumentalized by anyone.
2 weeks ago, President Trump said if Iran killed protesters, the US would come to their rescue and was, quote, locked and loaded and ready to go. Today, he posted help is on its way, telling Iranians, take over your institutions and save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price. US fighter jets have increased their activity in Qatar, close to the Iranian border, and Trump is today being briefed by aides on a raft of responses from military to cyber attacks. Yesterday, Iran said it was ready for war, but with a conciliatory caveat.
As I have repeatedly said, we are also ready for negotiation.
Ahead of his meeting, Trump deployed one of his favourite weapons, slapping a 25% tariff on countries continuing to trade with Iran, angering China, its largest.
They're just saying out loud, why do people think this would be better? Oh yeah, Israeli media, when Iran falls, we will strike everywhere in the country as we did in Syria. I know. Look, my point is, I'm in favor of stability, and I'm in favor of Iranian sovereignty, okay? I think the Iranian people deserve sovereignty. I think the Iranian people deserve to be free of any sort of state repression. But in the absence of the state actually caving to some of these very righteous and reasonable demands, and without actually solving the economic hardships, which is completely outside of their fucking control, because obviously America is very clearly doing everything in their power, this will only get worse. It's only going to it's only going to get worse. It's that simple. The fucking US president has more care for people outside his country when it comes to government killing civilians. I mean, he doesn't. He doesn't give a shit about the Iranian government killing Iranians, okay? He would kill just as many Iranians with one fucking bombing campaign if he wanted to. He doesn't give a shit about that at all. Anyone that believes that is stupid, okay? You know, anyone that believes that is a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. If you believe that, you are the dumbest person on the planet. He cares about doing the bidding of Israel. Let's be real. And Israel wants a failed state in Iran. And it's not like they're hiding that is their main ambition here.
These
overt foreign signaling coincided with the rapid escalation of violence in Iran's protest. Journalist Samira Mohyeddin told Dropsite News live this morning. She pointed to the January 1st tweet by Mike Pompeo welcoming Iranians in the streets while referencing Mossad agents walking beside them, followed by Israel's heritage minister Amichai Eliyahu telling Israel Hayom, our operatives are on the ground. We have had a hand in this.
protests started on December 28th in.
Yeah. Protests started because of sanctions, and then it escalated into this.
Tehran's Grand Bazaar by merchants when the rial dramatically dropped. And, you know, it was really on January 1st when you saw Mike Pompeo a couple days later tweet out on New Year's Day, you know, Happy New Year to all the Iranians in the streets, and the Mossad agents walking beside them. I mean, it was wild to behold.
Iran is already a failed state. Our parents cannot even buy eggs, brother. Yes, but also you don't know how bad it will get, okay? Oh, it'll get much, much worse.
Such a statement, reckless statement being made by Mike Pompeo. And then from there, you saw Israel's heritage minister, Amichai Eliyahu, giving an interview. This was printed in Israel Hayom, one of Israel's most read digital media, saying, our operatives are on the ground. They're working there. The direct quote was, we have a hand in this. And so that's when you saw really the state violence escalate, because in the first couple days of this protest, Pezeshkian, the Iranian president, came out and said, people have a right to protest. Our economy is in shambles. We need to fix it.
Like, Iranians keep voting for whoever they can vote for that will be a reformist, and then no reforms come. So obviously, if you don't have the fucking pressure valve of like even a fake democratic process, then you are no different than the Shah. Sure, you're not a Western puppet. You are actually abiding by the base of support that you have, and there is a real base of support for the fucking Ayatollah, okay? Whether you agree with it or not doesn't matter. We're not I'm not here to spare people's feelings. I'm here to tell you exactly what the fuck is going on to the best of my ability in a country that is like otherwise inaccessible, okay? But when the people make these demands and you don't abide by those demands, if you get a fucking reformist president and then you don't actually do reform, then people are going to go, okay, what the fuck is this? It's that simple. And when you lose like the 25% due to the economic collapse, then you got nothing. But to be fair, ultimately, the biggest problem here is still the economy.
We need to listen to what people are saying, but then things churned very quickly. And what began as, protests about economic hardship really turned into, you heard people on the streets calling for the death of Khamenei and all this. And it's important to note that's not new either. I mean, Iran has been in this just hamster wheel of successive protests really since 2017. And in 2019 is when you saw, the oil prices go up, and then you saw more protests there. Then you had the Mahsa Amini uprising, and now this. But these protests are very different, particularly in the fact that we are seeing a level of violence on the part of the protesters also that we haven't seen in the past.
To say that these are just Western-backed protests is not. You're losing the broader picture here. Is there Western intervention? Yes, of course there is. Okay, they want a failed state. Of course there's fucking Western intervention. But if you think that there isn't like real animosity amongst the public, you're out of your fucking mind. It's crazy. There's more nuance to the situation. No, it's not racism. Iranians, like everyone else, are susceptible to propaganda, and U.S. and Israel do expend a lot of resources on propaganda campaigns targeted at Iran. By the way, speaking of propaganda, they refunded Voice of America as of this week. So one of the things that Donald Trump had gutted, the American Congress has been able to bring back, thank God. I'm joking. I don't give a shit about Voice of America or CIA operations, but they have spent a lot of money and time and effort in propagandizing an understandably angry Iranian population. Some healthy skepticism is warranted, is the inability to entertain multiple truths that's infuriating, says Still Oppressed. As Iranian officials are asking China for security, economic assistance, Chinese media is calling Iranian requests pure fantasy, delaying the implementation on an economic deal signed last year. China is concerned about opening up its banks and key companies to sanctions from the U.S. and Europe. Oof. An isolated Iran finds China's friendship has its limits.
In southern Tehran. We understand that this footage was filmed on.
Yeah, you guys really can't depose Ayatollah like Mossadegh. They don't even have an embassy there. They have no influence in the Iranian army. Only thing they could do is turn Iran into Libya. Exactly.
Saturday, huge anti-regime street protests.
They're showing the body, so I'm not going to show it to you.
Before. The person filming on their phone is pretending to be on a call. We are disguising his voice. These are the necessary logistics in the aftermath of a massacre.
Oh, it's censored.
That is what you're seeing.
Was he shot in the head? Yes.
The morgue sections inside are all full. So, the warehouse is used also.
The person filming in secrecy is saying it's horrific. It's like the end of days.
That is also now full, so corpses are laid out on the ground outside as people arrive.
What is this? Do you think the Iranian regime wanted us to see this footage exactly? The internet's been shut down. I think the reason why the Iranian government, like the Iranian government is trying something new here. I don't know what it is, but it feels like they're showing this stuff to say it was actually like these protesters are not protesters, they're terrorists, they're Western-backed terrorists. Because they did do something. They did like an October 7th style thing that Israel did, where they brought in all the diplomats that are in the country to watch the security footage that they released to say these are not like regular, civilian protesters. These are like armed terrorists that are killing cops and all these people. And they had to be violently suppressed for that reason. And a big chunk of the people that were killed, like not the major part, obviously. The major part of this is just like regular ass protesters. But a big part of the people that were killed in the process were, part of the security forces, part of the police. There was a firefighter that was lit on fire, I think. So they're trying to turn around and say like this is all CIA, this is all Mossad. But the casualty numbers don't fit that narrative at all. And it doesn't even matter because you're the fucking government of Iran. Everyone is an op to you. Even China, it seems, is not going to help you out. So you're all alone. There is nothing you can do here. So in order to, yes, this is Western-backed bullshit. OMG, Hassan, you're a joke. Brother, if you cannot comprehend nuance in the situation, in what I am saying, I don't know how to explain this to you. Okay? There is nuance in the situation. As it stands currently, the only mechanism of sovereignty, unless there is an actual fucking succession of government that the Iranian, the different Iranian regime protesters have implemented, without Western intervention, which is impossible anyway, the only way that Iran maintains its sovereignty is through the current regime. That's it. In the absence of that, because there's no way to like apply pressure points to the Iranian military, because there's no like direct beyond the espionage and beyond the CIA operatives or Mossad operatives inside of the country, there is no like diplomacy at play here. There's no embassy. There's no way. There's no means of like actually changing the trajectory of Iranian governance from the outside. The only thing that they will do is create a failed state. Because if the situation was dire, I believe a semi-competent government would take the sensible measures of getting a nuke. Anyway, let's continue with this.
To identify loved ones. Families bring ID, identify the bodies themselves.
What is this? According to the estimate that showed around 2,000 were killed, it was about 1,847 civilian and 137 government dead. So that's about 7% of the dead that are government aligned. No, there are people that are getting killed in the crossfire that like are just, trying to go home too. Like it's not as clear cut. There are people that are getting killed in the process, that are getting killed and shot because they are engaging in armed conflict. There are people that are also getting killed in the crossfire, some of which are literally fucking pro-regime that are getting killed in the crossfire, and many, many more that are obviously against the regime that are getting killed by the regime, by the security forces. But the very fact that there's like that many people that are either of the police force or of the security forces that have been killed in this process means that these guys are, means that one, the protests are getting way more active. Okay, they're killing a lot more security forces than they ever have in the past, which means that the protests are getting more serious. The anger is more palpable and more real than before even, and it was very real in the past as well. It's more organized, but not organized in a direction where there's like there's a handover state that they have that they can lean into, and in the absence of like an internal form of governance, an Iranian government that has planned out some sort of succession plan, all this will lead to is either the current regime hardening its stance, engaging in even more aggressive versions of repression, more violence, more mass jailing, or it'll be a failed state. It'll turn into Syria or Libya. And I don't even know if it'll actually turn into Syria or Libya, really, because the IRGC, as far as I understand, is a lot more powerful than any kind of state apparatus that existed in Syria, because it gets its legitimacy from at least a quarter of the fucking population. Amazing how you Americans call Iran a failed state, while in your streets you have Gestapo shooting brown people. Brother, do you think that I don't consider the situation in America to be a fucking collapsing failed state as well? What the fuck are you talking about? That's why I keep saying free Iran. What about fucking freeing America? These dumbass hogs are talking about how like more power to the Iranian protesters. Meanwhile, they're like, if you disobey a cop in a fucking traffic stop, you deserve to be raped by the cop. Your coverage is worse than CNN. Yeah, if you're a fucking dumbass, you would say that.
And once that happens, the medics are called. They verify the documents and conduct a quick autopsy.
Does the body have a code? Yes,
each family is given a code, then the death is registered. In this one site, the person filming says he estimates there were some 2,000 bodies here. This is the minutiae of a massacre. The big picture is that what happened in Iran over the weekend could turn out to be one of the worst mass killings of protesters in recent times. A police station in the neighborhood of Tehran Pars, Tehran. We're confident that this was filmed during the protests which were taking place there.
Dude, there is no productivity in fucking denying that the state suppression of these protests have been ruthless and brutal. Okay? I need you guys to understand something, okay? For all the Marxist-Leninists in the chat, for all the anti-imperialists in the chat, please, there is no reason to deny that. Okay, it's fucking stupid. You come across like a silly goose. Okay, it's just the reality of the situation. Like even if you understandably still arrive at the conclusion that like in the absence of any sort of reforms or any sort of like give from the regime that Iran is only going to deepen this crisis. Even if you recognize that the only way as it stands currently to maintain Iranian sovereignty is through this regime that has been ruthless, oppressive, brutal at times, you can still recognize that they are being vicious. Okay? You can also call out American hypocrisy in this regard, obviously, as I have over and over again, but it's just like there's no reason to deny abject reality, okay? It's ridiculous. The brutality of the crackdown will log Iran into a deeper and more dangerous crisis, as Sina Tusi. The protests may be suppressed, but stability won't be restored for the system. Without meaningful transformation and governance, the system may survive, but in an even more brittle form.
Over the weekend. The video lasts for over 6 minutes. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see people shooting from the roof. The sound of gunfire is constant. Human rights groups are trying to be precise about the killings they've recorded in Iran over the last 48 hours. Mahmoud Amiri Mukhadam is a doctor, has been monitoring human rights abuses in Iran as scientifically as he can for almost 20 years. Acknowledges that his organization's figure from yesterday of 648 killed is an underestimate, to put it mildly.
When we say 648, as we said yesterday, just keep in mind that most of that is from 1 or 2 days. They are from 14 of the 31 provinces in Iran. They are from 7 out of 100 hospitals in Tehran. And then when you start thinking that what does it mean? And these are only, for example, some of the, in the hospitals, only the bodies that families took to the hospital. Then you come up with a picture that it sounds like a massacre that have been taking place.
The funerals of protesters next door to the forensic center in Tehran. Donald Trump said today that, quote, help is on its way, and encouraged Iranians to keep protesting.
But that begs the question, why do Marxist-Leninists deny that? Because, guys, it's objectively hypocritical for people to fucking sit around and act as though they have any care or consideration for the fucking Iranian public, okay? They don't. So they harden their stance because it's the only fucking state in the region that has the capacity to militarily oppose Israel, that is doing this kind of thing on a daily fucking basis. And when it's not doing this kind of thing, as it did every single fucking day pretty much over the course of the Gaza genocide, it's still destabilizing other countries in the region for its grand plans. Okay? That's it. That's it. That's the reason why people who have a hardened position that you could consider campist here have this kind of output. They're basically behaving in the same way that like fucking Israel supporters do, but ultimately it's not. They're not on the same moral playing field. I'm not saying that at all, but that's the reason why they're doing it. The reality of the matter is, in the absence of if this government falls, it's fucking Syria. That's the reason why the people who take somewhat of a campus stance here are making that statement. Okay, that's it. America is obviously still far worse than the Iranian government, even in terms of like the dire economic situation that Iranians are facing is also a direct consequence of American intervention. So every Iranian that is in a state of disarray due to the real dropping in value to zero, or due to not having any sort of fucking, like, due to people not having any sort of commerce in the country, that's all America. That's all American intervention. So they're still worse than even the fucking most repressive, most authoritarian version of the Ayatollahs. Yes, it's always either the Jews or America's fault. I can't tell if you're being sincere when you say this or if you're saying this sarcastically. But yes, in the case of Iran, it is not the Jews, okay? But yes, Israel has played a fucking major role. What are you talking about? Dumbass. It's not like America and Israel are hiding this either. I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? They openly say that they're doing it, and these motherfuckers are like, where are you coming from with this? Oh, here we go again.
protesting. But thousands have been arrested, some like Irfan Sultani facing execution. His family told us that was due to take place tomorrow. Whatever form help comes in, they're wondering whether it will come in time for him.
Like, listen, chatters, two things can be true at the same time, okay? The weaker a regime feels, the more repressive they get. And if you're this dude's fucking friend, okay, you're not going to like the government. And if you actually also, if there's no economic improvements in your life either, you're inevitably going to say, all right, fuck this government. Maybe Israel is better. That's the problem. That's the failure on the part of the regime. Yeah, come on, bro. How can you blame Israel? It's not like they engaged in constant missile strikes and terror campaigns within Iran just in the last few months. Oh, wait. Yeah. How can you blame Israel? They were only bombing Iran, literally Iran, like bombing it only a couple months ago. How can you blame Israel? Yeah, execution as bad as the U.S. Tankies are brain dead. If the impact of the sanctions is death, okay, death due to not being able to get accessible medicine, for example, then how is that any fucking different? The only difference is it's invisible, so it's harder to fucking shift the blame back to the country doing the sanctions. You could say, yeah, sure, all you want, but that's what it is. And it's not like the American government is hiding that. They're openly saying it. They're like, yeah, fuck yeah, our sanctions are working. Fuck yeah. This is a testament to how our nation and Israel broke Iran. That's a fucking American senator saying it. Quiet part out loud. Cotton confirms blockade goal is to harm Venezuelan civilians. The lights are literally going to go off. They're not going to be able to pay policemen or fighters or teachers unless they begin to cooperate with President Trump. These guys are openly saying it, and some of you guys are still living in fantasy world. This is pure liberalism, okay? I swear to God, I was thinking about this earlier today. There are people that are just as fundamentalist and just as overzealous, like demonstrating zealotry towards liberalism as the Ayatollahs are about fucking Shia Islam. You are no different than a mullah in the way that you keep fucking going back and forth about how liberalism is not actually collapsing around the world. We must maintain liberalism. Do not stop. No alternatives. As the country is turning into a fucking fascist failed state in front of our eyes in the United States of America. And you're basically the mullahs, but for liberalism. Wake up. No. Trump is not doing this for oil. There is a real democratization initiative here. Get the fuck out of here. Oh, no. You don't understand. The sanctions are not as impactful as the way you claim it. Meanwhile, they're openly saying it is. Wake up. Not only is liberalism dying here in the Western world, but it's also caused so much death and destruction overseas. If you don't fucking recognize that, you're no different than the people that you're calling tankies and being delusional about the Iranian government not fucking brutally killing protesters. You know what I mean? Like, there's no difference. You're just the same. The only difference is you get backed by a multi-trillion-dollar fucking media apparatus that is constantly fucking pumping out propaganda that makes it seem as though, in spite of what the president is saying, in spite of what the fucking senators are saying, both on the Democratic Party side and on the Republican Party side, that no, these sanctions are actually there to liberalize the economy or some shit. No, it's there to kill people, kill enough people and starve enough people and cause them to die to curable diseases, so much so that they get fucking mad and they rise up in arms against their own fucking government, especially in the absence of the government taking the initiative to listen to the demands being made by reformists in the country. Oh, the entire world is shifting right in front of our eyes. It serves nobody to just deny this reality, okay? You have to always say the truth. We must find truth from facts, first and foremost. Mao Zedong.
Just before we came on air, I spoke to Professor Mohammad Morandi in Tehran. He's a former advisor to Iran's nuclear negotiating team and is close to the authorities there.
Actually, I think that might have been Deng Xiaoping. Whatever.
I began by asking for his response to
I thought you said Mao was a fascist. What? What the fuck? Shut up!
the deadly crackdown on protesters who say his government simply no longer has the right to govern.
Yesterday,
Well,
we saw
Hassan was
rallies
wrong.
across
What do you
the
mean?
country.
What was wrong about what?
And the footage is online. And it was broadcast live, even though now people like Musk and others are trying to pretend it was AI or
No, these were people
old
who were
footage.
forced to go out and protest, but people of their own free will bravely went out, and in return, the government, your government, has slaughtered them in their thousands. And for what?
Why is the position that Iran is doing revolution the wrong way because they don't have a better alternative in place yet? I never said that. I never said that at all. I just said that in the absence of any sort of plan, next steps forward, it's just going to collapse. It is a far too diverse of a country and far too fucking backed up or propped up by different sectarian groups that have gotten fucking money and weapons from, you know, outside forces, whether it be Israel or America, okay, that it will collapse into a fucking fail state. That's it. There needs to be, and if your goal is to, if your goal is for Iranian people to survive, that is my goal, Iranian people to maintain sovereignty, to have a secular democracy, if that's what they want, then you can't accomplish that if it turns into fucking Syria. This guy's a government shill. Do not platform this bozo. Brother, we looked at people who are very openly against the government. It's important to understand a diversity of fucking opinions in this situation in a country where, again, 25% of the public is still very much firmly committed to the government. Shut the fuck up.
There were 2.3 million people in Tehran yesterday on the streets, and reporters from Al Jazeera English, Arabic, RT, CGTN, CCTV, and others, Al Mayadeen, were there, and they witnessed it. How can you force millions of people on the streets in Tehran
because you instill
and other
fear
streets?
into the people of your country. Your government instills fear into the people of your country.
No, the pro-government protesters are not fucking going out to the streets at gunpoint. This is so stupid. What matters is not that there are pro-government people. What matters is the fucking forcible suppression of all the discontent that has led to conflict, violent conflict in this iteration. And it's only going to get worse. Ugh. Like what stupidity? Like Iranians are not fucking magical people that are this malleable where they just went, oh no, at gunpoint they're sending us out into the fucking streets. No, there are people who are still pro-regime. That's it. What the fuck?
I think that you are living in an alternative universe and you're drowning in your own fake narratives. If you think that the people of Iran support the MEK terror organization or the monarchists that your governments fund and support, I think you really know literally nothing about Iran.
Your government says that 2,000 people are dead. Are you denying that?
Our government never made any statements about any death numbers at all. You're talking about Reuters.
Iranian Ozzy here again. The mass body bag videos which families go to identify are definitely fake. Iran famously doesn't release dead bodies, and if it does, it makes them promise quietly to bury their loved ones so another protest doesn't emerge from the burial. Brother, you are crazy. That is not fake. What are you saying? Okay. Come on, dude. They are not fake, okay? It's unique that the Iranian government this time actually is doing this, okay? You could say that. But it's not fake. Damn, dude. Khamenei is Ozzy for the record. So maybe that's why this guy is like riding pretty hard.
Reuters.
Clearly that
Our
video is
government does
AI.
not report to Reuters. And Reuters constantly fabricates information about Iran, and it constantly says unnamed sources.
Yeah, they also showed it on Iranian TV too.
Bodies piling up on the streets. That's all AI. That's all fake, is it?
There are no bodies piling up on the streets.
No bodies piling up on the streets. We've seen them with our own eyes.
And no, not on the streets. I live in Tehran.
Well, in the morgues,
and by
then.
the way, And so then rephrase and don't produce propaganda. You're supposed to be a credible news outlet. 100 police officers, roughly, or officers of the law were murdered. 2 were burnt alive. 1 was beheaded by these rioters, or the people who you call protesters.
Nonsense. Khamenei looks Cuban. I think he looks Turkish. He is Turkic. He is Azeri, so he is Turkic, technically.
Well, let me ask you, 26-year-old Irfan Soltani, 17-year-old Amir Ali Haidari, 28-year-old Naveed Salehi, these people have all been killed for the simple fact that they are demanding freedom and they're using their voices to demand freedom. That's the truth, isn't it?
I don't know the names that you give, and I don't know what happened to these people. I don't know if they exist or not. Just giving names doesn't mean it.
Congratulations, Hassan. You got and you keep platforming this dude because he was hard on Israel and the genocide, so you think he's credible. Hassan, please don't platform this government shill. They have blood on his hands. First of all, Mohammed Marandi is 100% pro-regime. They make no mistake, okay? Even when he was talking against Israel, I openly said that, okay? What I'm simply telling you is that he also does represent a sizable chunk of the population. This is not also, I'm not platforming him. Channel 4 is. So take it up with fucking Channel 4 if you want to. It's ridiculous. You have to hear from these people as well. It's fucking ridiculous. You are giving a platform to the killers of Iranian people. That is a shame, man. Oh my fucking Lord. Oh, we're doing the same thing. We're doing the same fucking thing. We're just like, why are you platforming Trump? Shut up. I listen to fucking American right-wingers tell me that ICE agents should be killing American protesters every fucking day. And there are still the same people in the chat. They go, oh my God, why are you platforming? Why are you platforming the right-wingers? Why are you platforming Donald Trump? Okay, shut up.
Anything.
Well,
but
they're 3 among thousands, and the executions begin tomorrow. And for what? For people wanting to use their voices to demand freedoms that you take for granted.
No, the people who will be executed.
This feels like Venezuela 2.0. No, I think that although there is, it's yes and no, because while there is a sizable percentage of the population, there is an even larger percentage of the population that, if left to their own devices, would definitely depose of the Ayatollah. Okay? Like, I would go so far as to say that there is actually less support percentage-wise for the Ayatollah than there is for any form of, like, Chavista-backed movement in Venezuela. And even then, it's not to say that Maduro was, like, super popular either, okay? But if there was like a real democratic process and Iranians went out to the ballot box to vote for the Ayatollah, they would not be voting in reformist presidents as a fucking protest vote over and over again. Like, there is nothing has come close to this level of violence, like real street violence in Venezuela as it has consistently in Iran. Obviously, the factors are different. Proximity to Israel plays a big role in this, and American intervention has obviously played a big role in this as well. I guess what is this? Sizable chunk of the population, if that were true, they wouldn't need to bus in Afghans and Pakistanis to fill their rallies. Just accept that you know very little about the reality of Iran and how we actually live here. You said sizable chunk. How many people does that mean? Well, in most circumstances, it was about 25% of the population. But I feel like, especially with the economic collapse, that number has gone down. But we are still talking about a nation state that has, that would still mean tens of millions of people. Okay, at any given point, it swings from 15% to 30% of the entire population, the Iranian population. Afghans, we are shit on by everyone. Oh my God, I love Middle East racism. Yeah, shut up. You're being bussed into Tehran right now so you can have numbers. Don't laugh. I experienced firsthand that they pay people money to come to protest. They fill buses, dog. You don't know nothing. Oh my God. This is the same fucking attitude in Turkey where it's like Erdogan is only winning people by giving them money. He doesn't have a real base of support, okay? I never said it's the majority population. As a matter of fact, the majority population doesn't actually want this government, okay? The majority does not want this government. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that the majority is like saying that this is the... Like there is more support for Erdogan than there is amongst Turkish people, whether we want to admit it or not ourselves. Then there is support for the Ayatollah in Iran. Okay.
If they are convicted of the people who burned people alive and who beheaded others, these are people who were rioting, and these were people who were shooting at police officers, and there's footage of it. And that footage is online.
So what is the point of listening to this guy then? Because he represents the position of the government, which is still gaining its legitimacy from at least a quarter of the fucking population of Iranians. Okay? This doesn't mean it's the majority position. I never said that it's the majority position. I've never maintained that it's the majority position, but it's still a sizable percentage of the population that currently is running the country. And like what it feels to me, what it feels to me is people being like, I don't want to learn about this. I don't want to hear this. Just fucking put the Western intervention as an absolute necessity in the bag and move on, little bro, is what people are saying. Driving me nuts how people on the left can't seem to realize Iranian people can't want change while also not wanting the U.S. and Israel involved. They insist this is just the West making a fake revolution when the Iranian leaders are actually killing people protesting. People have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. I know. Is this your most lib take? No, I don't think it's my most lib take, especially because people are not capable of